Look, it does seem an understatement to say that the new Albanese government faces a bottleneck of legislation and, no doubt, a few political fights in the final 3 months of the year. There are only a handful of joint parliamentary sitting days remaining this year. The Prime Minister is heading off again for the G20, APEC and East Asia summits in November. But the business of government at home is becoming very demanding. I mentioned earlier about the Integrity Commission. Then there is the abolition of the cashless welfare card, childcare, social housing, a referendum to enshrine a constitutional voice to Parliament, negotiating an AUKUS nuclear submarine deal, rising energy prices, higher interest rates, soaring inflation and cost of living pressures, a housing downturn and rental crisis. It's exhausting just thinking about it. The government has made an excellent start, as I've said many times, with the rhetoric. The right language about the death of the Queen, no need for haste on the Republic issue, warning Australians that the government can't go on paying their wages. But the one man saddled with a hell of a job on issues that merit significant discussion and debate is the former leader Bill Shorten, who's the Minister for Government Services, which is almost everything, and the Minister for the National Disability Insurance Scheme. Bill Shorten's been in Parliament since 2007. He went within a breath of becoming Prime Minister. Many would say, and are still saying, that he has a greater grasp of the issues than anyone in government. He joins me. Mr. Shorten, thank you for your time. And I'm really grateful that you're here. One issue unrelated to portfolio, if I'd quickly deal with it, is the length of the parliamentary term. When will we get a debate about the fact that a 3-year term cripples any government's capacity to get the job done?
Well, you've indicated we've already got a heavy workload, so I'm not sure that's going to be dealt with in this term. I don't believe that's on the agenda. For myself, I went on the record when Malcolm Turnbull was leader of Prime Minister, and I said we should have 4-year terms, but I couldn't interest him in doing anything about it then when they were in charge. I do think a longer term, as a personal opinion, makes sense, but that isn't on our first term agenda. And also, as you said, there's plenty of issues to do with cost of living and mortgage stress and how people are coping, which is the priority for the government.
Just for our viewers, I just to show Mr. Shorten understands this, but if you've got a controversial or unpopular issue like tax reform or changing the GST, by the time a government debates it, gets it through the Parliament, they're then facing another election when the odium of tough decisions is in the forefront of a voter's mind. So basically, you're in favour of a 4-year term.
I've said that before on the record, but I accept that it's not a priority for this government. We have to, I think, deal with the issues that are in front of us. We made a series of promises at the last election that defines our work for this term. Also, we've got a lot of crises popping up, from the dreadful floods right through to the Optus breach. So there's plenty to be done, and at the core of it all is cost of living.
Yeah, I'll come to those in a minute. I might just congratulate you, though, on what you said at the time about closing down the culture war. You reversed the trial of consent forms using gender-neutral language so that parents adding newborn children to their Medicare cards don't have to describe themselves as the birthing parent. I mean, Bill Shorten, what's wrong with the word mother?
Well, in this case, there was nothing wrong with it at all. What I did, though, and I don't want to reopen culture wars, is that the old form had 3 choices: birthing mother, father, or other, and you could self-describe.
Yep.
So I'm all for inclusion, and how you want to describe yourself, frankly, I'm relaxed with.
Correct.
But I think being a mother's a big enough challenge, and I thought it was appropriate they could at least have their name on the form if that's the box you wanted to tick.
I agree entirely. If you want to call yourself anything, but don't eliminate the notion of your capacity to call yourself mother.